window, at the sidewalk below, the people passing by, countless over the days. They say things and do things, and in the saying and doing, more things get said and done. I don't understand, but somehow they keep going and saying and doing. I prefer their stuff, their things. Things are simple. Brown, grubby shoes with yellow laces, an oversized winter coat that hides the fact of them, a pizza box, a purple hat, a pot of cooked pasta someone brought from home. The list is endless. Just the other day, a hulking figure under a blend of nylon picked up a black plastic sack. It had been sitting on the sidewalk for days. Garbage, basically. Something someone had left, thrown out, forgotten. But I liked looking at it. How its handles were knotted, how it bulged, sort of in the shape of a small appliance with whatever was inside. How it collected a bit of snow, then lost it. How people walked past it, or around it, or over it. Until the hulking figure, that is, they stopped and stood over the sack, bright in their green nylon coat, which seemed to say, "I'm right here. See me. But also, don't." A magnetic shield, which is besides the point. The point is, this green nylon figure picked up the sack, unknotted the handles, and looked in. And when they did, they winced, eyes screwed up, tongue out, waving, wriggling wildly, eyes screwed up in a wince. It was incredible. What was in the sack? A pile of rotten fruit? Soiled clothes? A pot of cooked pasta? Or maybe a thing of pornography, a collection of holy relics, pagan deities. An artifact from their childhood, long lost, and the key to their survival. Or at least happiness. I was jealous that they saw. And I was jealous of that absurd and degraded gesture provoked by what they saw. What was in the sack? I'll never know. A moment later, the hulking figure under a blend of nylon was gone, carrying away the plastic sack under a bright green arm to someplace secret, deep in the city.
Oh God. Okay, I have kids. That isn't important. I mean, it is. It was because of them I got an app to tell me when to do things. Wake them, feed them, clean them, say hello, etc. It's called Do Live. Stylized with the / between the words, no spaces, I don't know why. It keeps me to a schedule, to a routine. Kids like routine, I like routine. Here's my routine. My phone vibrates and sounds a non-accusing alert, which I like, and I wake up. Then I wake them, feed them, clean them, all alerts with the sound I like. Eventually, an alert that says to leave for daycare, and we leave. In the car, I play an audiobook, currently some fairy tales. Cute with their casual, rustic violence, I guess. I don't know. I don't usually listen because an alert tells me to think about the coming day, then another, and I turn off the audiobook and talk to the kids for the rest of the drive. About 5 minutes. 7 alerts later and I'm at my desk. 4 more and I'm taking my after-lunch walk through the park, which is more a park-like thing. Brilliant bright lawn, concrete pond with 5 geese and a duck, small underdeveloped trees spaced out in a relaxing manner through which I walk. Except for today. Oh, God. Okay. Today there was a panic in the park. A kind of disaster. A catastrophe. Now, I didn't know what kind or manner of disaster I happened upon it. In progress. People stricken, screaming, disoriented with blood on their faces and hands. One young man kept asking for his brother. I was disoriented. Oh, God. Okay. I didn't know it at the time, but this disaster was an exercise. Training for an emergency, for catastrophe and emergency responders. I didn't know it wasn't real. At first, I tried to help. The young man asking for his brother, then another, then I began to panic that the disaster was ongoing, that I was in danger. All around me, people stricken, possible victims or perpetrators, and me in the middle. I looked to the sky. Was it coming from the sky? Was it viral, non-human? I heard a noise and ducked. I called out for help. I cried, screamed. I noticed I had blood on my face and hands. Eventually, I took up with a small group that ran through the park in a desperate manner. A herd in crisis. I completely missed the alert that tells me to go back to work, and many others. When it was time to pick up the kids, I was stealing medical supplies from a tent, making a weapon out of a branch when I should have been cutting up an apple for their snack. By bath time, I sat with a blanket over my shoulders. A woman in an orange vest giving me an IV. The only real victim of a fake disaster. I was vibrating.
Chunky Italian sauce flavored with meat. This is a kind of spaghetti sauce, apparently. Or so a particular targeted ad had been telling me. The thing is, though, I couldn't understand why I kept getting this ad. What had I searched or clicked or viewed or bought or said that made this ad appear? What did the algorithm think of me? Chunky Italian sauce flavored with meat? I teach woodwind instruments at a private university. I run to Strauss, use hankies, rinse out baggies. I'm a vegetarian. Except for the odd fish here and there. Shellfish. But also real fish, I suppose. And sometimes chicken. Plus, I hadn't bought spaghetti sauce in years. Hadn't even eaten pasta in a long time. So why this ad? First, I figured it was a fluke. Maybe a blanket ad based on geography. I live in a diverse neighborhood. Maybe there's a pocket demographic of pasta eaters. Wouldn't surprise me. But it kept appearing for weeks. No matter which site I visited, there it was. Floating beside a news article on detained refugees. An attack on a commuter train. The election. Popping up next to forums on underrated piccolo performances or Danish furniture. Even on sites I use for private reasons. There it was, hovering above suggested videos. Chunky Italian sauce flavored with meat. It followed me everywhere I went, chased me. Without realizing it, I began to think of the sauce during class. Potential meals. It haunted me, infected my dreams. I became obsessed. What could it mean? Why this sauce? What did the algorithm understand about me that I didn't? I decided to go to the store, to see the sauce in person, dispel the myth of it. But what I saw overwhelmed me. An entire aisle devoted to spaghetti sauce. Shelf upon shelf, jar after jar, in countless varieties. Basil, mushroom, onion in various combinations, roasted or non-roasted garlic, old style, new style, reduced sodium, 2 cheeses, 6 cheeses, all cheeses. How, I wondered, could someone decide which sauce to buy? With all of these options, how does one know which they want? Which to prioritize? Which they are?
And then I saw it, sitting unpretentiously on a low shelf. Chunky Italian sauce flavored with meat. I felt a strange little affinity for it, up against the rest. A meat-flavored upstart. We didn't have meat-flavored sauce when I was a kid. Just tomato sauce. Just that one kind. Standing in the aisle, I remembered how my mom would add to it. Herbs, mostly. I remembered one time I had a bad day at school. I wet my pants, and they all laughed. But my mom made me spaghetti with sauce, which seemed appropriate. A tomatoey balm. I don't think there was meat in it. There might have been. Actually, there probably was. Yes. And standing in that store, in that aisle, surrounded by countless possible alternatives, I was, in a way, thankful the algorithm had helped me decide what sauce I was.
I'm not exactly good with, words or emotions, so I'll just come out with it. A ghost has been watching me. We're in love. Maybe I should explain. I hate, more or less, most of, or at least a lot of, everything. My job is dumb. People are annoying, which also goes for pets, TV, movies, and most forms of transportation. Food, dating, sex, with or without other people. Boring. For a while, going online was a thing to do. Gaming, reviews, discussion threads, porn reviews and or discussion threads. Scratched an itch, but even that went numb. So I took up a hobby. I go to the woods now. Leaving behind my phone, other devices, profiles, handles, avatars. It feels somehow important. It's self-important, which isn't always a bad thing. I go to the woods to hunt, mostly. Deer, other things. There are seasons, you can look it up. I like the hunting accessories, camouflage things, hat, gloves, mask, hiding things. Nothing knows you're there, but you are there in secret, which makes you dangerous. So I go to the woods to hunt, or else I'll just go, I guess, to hang out, do this or that. I make up games, like rolling a big rock down a hill, pushing over a tree, small fires, things that make you feel connected to nature, or, I don't know, accomplished, desirable. Other times, I stare into the camouflage in my gloved hand, lost in the bits of dark, mess of green and brown, almost forgetting that it's clothes, that I'm underneath it. Could do that for hours, I guess. I don't know. Point is, I was hunting when I noticed a ghost staring at me. At least I think it was staring at me. It didn't exactly have a face in the traditional sense, more a thing, a mist-like thing, a shiny mist-like thing in a vaguely human shape. I was field dressing a deer when I noticed I was being watched, which was unnerving until it wasn't. Until it was, I don't know, calming. Like the gravity of the world was turned up. I finished dressing the deer with an odd sense of purpose or something. But by the time I finished with the deer, the ghost was gone and the gravity was turned back down. I returned to the woods a few days later, waited, stared into the camouflage, but nothing. Eventually, I saw a rock and figured, I might as well roll it down a hill. The rock had just come to a funny, ugly stop below. Dust and noise are still in the air. and I felt it over my shoulder just behind, staring at me. I stared back for a long time. Hours, maybe. Whole days. Eye to misty middle area. God. To be seen like that. Worthy enough for the past to leap forward and look through the camouflage, the dark bits, the mess of green and brown, and see you. I'm pretty sure it's an old ghost, very old, probably a spirit even, or a minor deity. Not that it said or did anything, but you can tell these things. And I could tell it loves me, whatever it is. It doesn't matter, because it loves me. God. To be seen like that, you feel something.
I returned home for the holiday. A typical family affair, complete with the remaining grandparents, an odd cousin or two, some in-laws. I helped my mom in the kitchen. Green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, spiral ham. The recipes, she explained, came from a blog called Raging Mom. For the kids, there were hot dogs and juice boxes with a cartoon sun flexing on the label. TVs were tuned to sports, except for one which played a well-liked reality show. An uncle on his 5th beer detailed the discovery of the affair that led to his divorce. Basically, things had settled into that familiar holiday feeling. One alive with the excitement of a long weekend and the promise of a big meal. And then Grandpa got sick. Specifically, he screamed, coughed up something blue, and complained of a ringing in his ears. He remained coherent for a moment, but then collapsed in his chair, passed out cold. Except he was actually hot to the touch and vibrating slightly. But everyone leapt into action, or at least reaction. My mom, with an agility I didn't know she had, dashed to his side. She felt for his pulse as she called for my dad to open a window. Later, we discovered he opened every window in the house. While he did, 2 aunts argued whether it was better to elevate the legs or lower them. Someone suggested we put a wood spoon in his mouth and went to find one. A group of uncles left to move cars. The whole event, I realized, was probably pretty typical. Mine was likely one of a dozen grandpas getting sick at holiday gatherings across the state. But all these actions, these detailed movements around a crisis, made it feel more than typical. Like Grandpa passed out in his chair was the crucified Christ and we the idiot guards. Or whomever. Mary, an apostle. People whose task transformed the event from the typical. For my part, I went online. I searched the symptoms, looking for possible treatments, or a list of things to do. There was too much and too varied information to look through. It was impossible to know which to believe. One source suggested it was a stroke. Another, a dust allergy. Another offered it was a rare disease caused by prolonged exposure to vegetable tannins. I gave up completely when a pop-up ad froze my browser. It was for a gun and said things like increased grip and capacity, and this baby can shoot. Then, when I looked up from my phone, I saw my brother holding out a glass of water. An offering for our grandpa. A simple enough action. Easy to understand. Very moving, actually. But he was already dead.
You can be on vacation in Hawaii and feel unhappy. You go expecting something to happen, but nothing does. Maybe you shouldn't travel alone. Anyway, the sun is setting, I guess, and I look at my phone. All the apps with their colorful, inviting icons, which is a funny thing to call them, icons. I pick one, scroll, past pictures of overweight dogs and videos of children falling or screaming, several plates of food, someone with a new car, a new home, a new baby, an overweight cat. Here's one of some lady. Kind of unremarkable, really. Just her in front of a white background. And of course, it's a carousel. 2 or more variations on the theme, person in front of wall. In the first one, she's not even looking at the camera. In fact, her eyes are closed. Her head's turned slightly away, and her eyes are closed. Sort of like she hasn't been woken up. Which is funny, because the whole image is a bit blurry, like we're all just waking up. Seeing something new. Beginning, maybe? That sounds right. She holds a package. Small. Humble. Cradled like a carton of eggs. The background is white, which I think I mentioned, but it seems to be dark around her. I didn't notice before, but she's smiling. A small, easy smile despite the dark. A defiance. Suppose I'll look at the second picture then. Oh wow. Okay. The frame is wider, pulled back. The white background was a door. Whose I don't know. But it's raining. She's under an umbrella, which explains the darkness, maybe. Someone holds the umbrella for her. An arm extended into the frame from her left. The details of the arm aren't important, I think. Only that the package is dry. Safe. But not just from the rain. She holds it close, yes, but also away, turned to her left. Her eyes are open now, looking off to her right. She looks confused, angry, uncertain. Like she both believes and doubts what she sees just off to her right. Her hand is on the door handle. This is an escape from the rain and from whoever's to her right. Okay, the final picture and a miracle has occurred. She's inside. The camera is still outside, capturing her just inside the open door. The arm with the umbrella is gone, no longer needed. But there's a hand on the frame of the door extending in from her right. The uncertain other. Its hand is grubby, dirty, but it's barred. She's inside, and she's kept the package safe, dry and away. Whatever it is, it's safe. And I just noticed the light is much brighter. That vague darkness gone. I can see into the room behind her, its specifics. A wood table, bowl of apples, colors. Like this world is brand new. Is now, is come to being. Oh my God, she looks right at the camera. At me. And her smile, it's no longer small. It's huge. No longer defiant, just confident. Like a fact of this new world is that it's easy to be dry and safe and smile. Yeah. The sun is set now, and I can hear the lapping waves. Someone is laughing further down the beach. I wonder what was in the package.
There's an opened, partially used packet of pills on my table. Simethicone, generic gas pills. Which isn't generally notable, I know, but these pills came out of nowhere. Meaning, I didn't put them there. They weren't there this morning. I've never seen them before. They just appeared. Simethicone. I inspect the packaging. Yellow text on a blue background. Extra strength, fast acting. 30 easy to swallow soft gels. Relieves in no particular order. Fullness, pressure, discomfort. I laugh. Of what variety, I say. Though I know it's gas. It says so everywhere. Just only gas. The little side flaps are ripped open. 2 sheets of pills inside, one full of 15 little green pills, the other missing 3. I realize it's possible I left them there and somehow forgot, so I search the bathroom cabinet. Toothpaste, aspirin, antacid, expired vitamins, and SSRIs, and behind the lotion, gas pills, unopened and chewable, proof these 27 inexplicable soft gel things are not mine. I sit down, across from the packet. This is unusual. In general, yes, but specifically for me, my life's ordinary, uneventful and unexciting. I eat, I sleep, I work, I watch things, play things, buy things. It's straightforward and I like it. Things have value when their meaning is clear. The pills, I know what they do, but the meaning of their appearance isn't clear. It's fantastic, absurd, even like a fairy tale or Bible story. Did God ever make something appear to someone in need? Probably, but a sword or a cup of water, not a partially used packet of simethicone. There's no grace in gas pills, not that kind anyway. They're just simple, just common, found in everyone's bathroom or backpack. And yet, I've sat here for 2 hours thinking about them. Who left them? How? And for what reason? I laugh and joke to myself that the only plausible answers are God, via miracle, for a test. For fun, I go online and search miraculous objects. Crowns, eggs, weapons, but none that just appear. There are even stones that supposedly house a god, which is new to me. I look at the packet. House a god. It's a funny thought. But they're just pills. Not even mine. Extra pills. Annoyed, I grab them and walk to the park, searching for a trash can, one far away. There are a lot of people in the park, the usual groups doing the usual things. Dogs, kids. Someone says, I know I shouldn't have eaten it, but I did. They belch. And I laugh. If only they had miraculously appearing gas pills. But they don't. I do. And I'm standing at a trash can looking at the packet one last time. Extra strength. 180 milligrams. Simethicone. How much extra is that? Why am I stalling? All I have to do is drop it in the bin, but someone passes by and says, I know I shouldn't have eaten it, but I did, which is a funny thing to hear twice in one day. Well, maybe not funny, just extraordinary. The green of the pills makes them look almost like food. And so I swallow one. As a joke, maybe, I don't know. but I didn't know I didn't feel well until I felt better. On impulse, I slipped the packet of simethicone into someone's bag as they walked past. They'll be amazed at the sudden appearance of 26 little green god pills.
I had a panic attack at work again and decided to leave early. Even worse, I didn't realize it was a panic attack for 14 minutes. I was formatting a spreadsheet, color coding and bolding when I noticed I was hyperventilating. After I calmed down, I drove home. Except I didn't go home. I stopped at the holy place, or glass grotto of belief or believing. Yes, that is its name, and yes, it is a roadside attraction. A dumb one constructed out of countless glass bottles from around the world, built to suggest, I guess, a religious grotto? But one not committed to any one religion, the type of place meant for school field trips and retirees on RV pilgrimages. I stopped because after driving by every day for 5 years, the curiosity finally won out. Or because I couldn't tell the difference between a panic attack and work for 14 minutes. I don't know. But my hands were still a little shaky, and I suspect I needed the distraction. Luckily, the Grotto of Belief or Believing had plenty, including a sign out front that explained the site's history, which was uninspired. I learned that the founder happened to have a lot of bottles, so figured he might as well build it. That his collection came from, quote, important business trips from around the world, and that he wanted it to feel holy and charged with passion, which felt weirdly sexual. His shirtless picture didn't help, and neither did the giant bottle statue that was distinctly phallic. And the ticket seller reminded me of the barista whose name I don't know, but who's my best friend. Anyway, I could see myself having a nice, performative, consumer-based relationship with her. Not that it mattered, I didn't say anything. But she generously smiled as she gave me a ticket. A bottle-shaped card with a bottle-shaped stamp, 10th visit free. Just like the barista. Inside was exactly what one would expect from a glass grotto. A lot of glass bottles. Paths that led from one glass bottle shrine or chapel to another glass bottle shrine or fountain. The whole thing presented like the idea of a sacred place without actually being sacred. Not that it mattered. I passed by more than one person praying in front of a soda bottle reliquary. And then there were the old labels. So many ridiculous ones I have never seen. There was even one that depicted Zeus as a swan on top of a naked Leda mid-act, which is a troubling thing to put on a soda bottle, sort of joyfully oppressive, a reminder to drink your sweet, sugary beverage, but not because you want to. Embarrassingly, I was a little upset, a little preoccupied by Leda, and got a little lost in the maze, which is really just a winding hallway, but knowing that didn't make being lost any less scary. Even worse, when I made it out, I stood before a dark doorway with a sign that read, Void. I was nervous to go in. What does one find in a void? Nothing, I guess. And then what? Void. But it was either that or the maze and poor Leda, so I stepped in, and the void was a small domed room of dark soda bottles, only kind of dim. Actually, kind of nice. I could see the walls of the void. And a funny thing happened in the parking lot, which is mostly an empty expanse of asphalt. I was thinking about the grid of the parking spaces when the lowering sun hit the glass grotto. 1,000,000 dazzling, shimmering dots covered the lot. The cars, trees, me, the grid, everything. And then I saw the ticket seller. She was smiling. And I guess I smiled back.
Only the facts. I leave for work at 7 in the morning. I commute using the train, which is a few blocks away. I carry a mug of tea, a bag, and in my pocket a wallet, a phone, and a small toy cow. A toy cow from when I was young, which makes me feel better sometimes. It's brown, and I haven't named it. Today the train was late, so the platform was crowded, and so I was bumped into a lot. This happens to me all of the time, being bumped into. Sometimes I shout to, "Give me room!" but they never do. Someone today bumped into me hard enough that I spilled my tea and dropped my bag. And so I fantasized about retribution, and as I fantasized, I reached for my toy cow, as I often do. It makes me feel better sometimes. But it wasn't there. In my pocket. My pocket was empty. Gone. Or, more likely, stolen by that someone. And so I followed them, not knowing what I would do. Not knowing what I would do, but fantasizing that people would applaud once I had done it. And so I followed them. And I was sure of their guilt because they had that way about them. Yes, but only the facts. I was fantasizing about the applause, and I didn't notice they had stopped, and so I got very close. Close enough to see them clearly. And I was amazed to see that it was me. Or someone that looked just exactly like me, anyway. And we looked into each other's identical eyes, but they didn't look back with recognition. Only with a look that told me to get out of the way. I reached for my toy cow, as I often do because it makes me feel better sometimes. But it wasn't in my pocket. And couldn't they see they were just exactly like me? It was then the train came, and so the crowd pushed, and the other me boarded, and so I followed. And I followed when they got off, and I followed on the street, and on a bus, and so on, I followed. They even walked like me, which is to say people bumped into them. Once, a man bumped into them, and then 10 or so paces later, the same man bumped into me. Another time, this other me, cursed at someone for one reason or another. But then, they dropped their bag and shouted at everyone that their bag was ruined and to give them room. But I saw clearly that no one was to blame. They simply stumbled and lost their grip. Still, they went on shouting and pointing at their bag, though no one listened. And also they were crying. It's odd to see yourself act like that. Sort of sad, sort of disgusting. But, yes, only the facts. It was then a cow came walking down the street. A busy street, downtown, and the cow was brown. It escaped from a slaughterhouse from down by the water, but I didn't know that at the time. It was a funny and terrifying thing to see, and so everyone watched. But near me, I heard a scream, and looked and saw the other me holding their chest on the ground, writhing, and screaming, though no one noticed but me. And then they stopped, went still, dead
I guess. And I was looking at basically my body. I thought to reach for my toy cow, but it suddenly seemed unnecessary. I instead turned again to watch the real cow walking down the street. Unhurried and a bit gaunt, it headed west, I guess to the highway, and out of the city.